Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday drawing session with me, Frank Cho. There's my trusty Pentel mechanical pencil with 0.7 HB millimeter lead, my kneaded eraser, and here's my favorite paper to draw on, Strathmore Bristolboard 300 series with vellum surface. Love the vellum surface, grips the pencil really well. So first of all, I want to apologize for my erratic schedule with the drawing videos. I've been traveling nonstop. As we speak, I'm actually packing up for the Tokyo Comic Con, which I'll be leaving soon. So please bear with me for the next few weeks if my drawing video schedule is kind of erratic and late. So let's get to it. Today, I am going to draw Cyclops, the leader of the X-Men. Now, Cyclops has never been one of my favorite characters. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of writers kind of wrote him to be mediocre and kind of a bit of an extremist. So I never was a big fan of Cyclops. Although I did enjoy his power, where he can just blast someone with his optic blasters. So anyway, I decided to draw Cyclops. Actually, Cyclops is... There isn't too many poses you can do with Cyclops because his power comes from shooting people out of his eyes. So he's always standing upright with his hand on the visors, which opens up the visors to release his optic blast. So he's kind of a bit of a boring character to draw. So when you have a boring character to draw, the best thing is to make him look very imposing. So with Cyclops, I decided to have him have his hand up as if he just opened his visors to shoot someone down. And in this case, he did shoot someone down. He shot down a brood, an alien henchman brood. The thing that I don't like about a lot of the modern artists who draw Cyclops after Paul Smith. So Paul Smith, he drew the X-Men for almost a year back in the mid-'80s, early '80s, like 83 to 84, roughly around there. He is my favorite X-Men artist because he's a guy that I grew up reading. And the thing I like about him depiction of Cyclops is he drew Cyclops as this tall, skinny guy. And I remember growing up reading Scott Summers, Cyclops' real name. Cyclops' nickname was Slim. So the thing that I had problem with a lot of the modern artists after Paul Smith is they tend to draw Cyclops all roided up, like he's on steroids and it's just like massive. He's like size of Colossus, and I think that is a very that's a wrong approach when drawing Cyclops. I think he should always be kind of a tall, slender guy. So with that in mind, I decided to draw Scott pretty tall and slender. Still muscular, but slender. So I've already had this image in mind where where Cyclops is standing upright, and he just kind of took down one of the brood soldier, the alien bad guy, essentially. So I thought it would be cool to have him just releasing the button on his visor. That's always a pretty cool pose with Scott. I don't know why I keep calling him Scott, but with Cyclops, I should just call him Cyclops. So once I have that image in mind, it was fairly easy for me to just start drawing it. So when you draw a tall, slender character, I usually make them about 8 to 9 heads tall. The average human tend to be about 6.5 heads tall. With comic book characters, I tend to draw them about 8 heads tall. Just kind of give it that more of a heroic proportions. And by drawing Scott about 9 heads tall, it just kind of makes him look that much taller and skinnier. So here I am drawing the Brood. Now, the Brood was originally conceived by Claremont and Dave Cockrum back in the early 80s. And it's essentially a ripoff of the Alien monster from the Alien movies. So it's essentially very similar. It has this big, elongated head. And to reproduce, they basically lay their eggs in other people, other organic things, so that the broods, turns the actual organic other people into broods, or do they lay eggs? I don't know, but essentially they're a ripoff of the Alien monster. That being said, I actually enjoy drawing the broods because they had this very distinct triangular flat head, and it's actually really cool. It's really fun to draw, and they have this little tail with these two stingers, which inject venom into the victim. So I thought it would be cool to have a Cyclops standing over a brood that he just like shot down. Just erasing the stray marks. So as you can see, I tend to like scribble when I draw. So I don't do these shape, like these cylinder shape or circular or triangular shape. I just kind of start scribbling. So again, it doesn't matter how you draw. When it comes to art, the most important part is the final product. Well, in comic books anyway. I'm pretty sure some people will say that the act of drawing or painting or sculpting is the true reward. I mean, they are right to a certain point, but when in art, the final product is what matters. Especially in comics, because comics is communication. So you want to what you draw, you want to communicate to the reader what it is. I've always thought that Scott visor is one of the coolest thing I've seen as a kid. I mean, I grew up in the '80s, so all those cool little kind of like those visors are always kind of cool to me. Yeah, I've always kind of had problem with Cyclops' personality. I mean, he's been so overwhelmed. His character has always been overwhelmed by other X-Men characters. I mean, when he was dating Phoenix, Jean Grey, everyone focused on Jean Grey and not on him. So I felt bad for him. I've always felt kind of bad for Cyclops because he's always been written as kind of a mediocre guy. I think later on they gave him more personality by being a bit of a hard ass. But overall, when I was growing up reading the X Men, I thought he was a bit of a square. I did enjoy his the love triangle between him, um, Jean Grey, and Wolverine. I guess they started really focusing on that after I stopped reading the X Men. I mean, to be honest with you, I love the X Men until they start mucking around with the timeline when they start introducing characters from parallel universe, different from the future, like what's her name, like Rachel Summers, the second Phoenix. And then they at that point they pretty much lost me. I stopped reading the X Men right around the age of Apocalypse. You know, when things were just getting really, really complex and confusing. So from what I gather, I didn't really miss too much. I mean, right now is, if anything, is more confusing now with the whole X Men history. So Cyclops had this boots, you know, had that kind of that, I don't know what you call it, kind of like a pirate boot with the leather kind of thing kind of fold down, which makes sense because his dad is a space pirate. All right, I'm not making this up. I mean, yeah, Scott's father's a space pirate. His dad is a corsair, the space pirate. So again, X Men. As I get older, I kind of started getting like a love hate relationship with the X Men because there's a lot of great, cool stories from the X Men, and at the same time, there are really a lot of bad stories about the X Men and confusing stories. So since I grew up reading the X Men in the '80s, I decided to stick with the '80s costume, which I like. I like. I'm a bit of a minimalist, so I don't like too many stuff on costume. You know, I just like the clean lines and stuff like that. So I'm not a big fan of that whole '90s and early 2000s where all these like stupid pouches and you know knickknacks and ammo uh, belts and all these nonsense they used to wear all the time. You know. So I thought the design of Cyclops was very clean and easy to draw. His classic costume. Now the Brood, they're they're technically like a space insect, but instead of a mandible, they have this kind of an organic, uh, like a like a reptilian jaw. So the secret to drawing the Brood is just give them a big triangular head and this bug eye, you know, and teeth. That's the secret of to drawing a Brood. I did have a really cool story that I thought of during my Avengers run, and which I wanted to do. But at that point, Marvel have decided to that I was even though I was hired as a writer artist, they decided to just only use me as an artist. And so there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to do at Marvel that Marvel just kind of didn't give me a chance. I mean, I actually wanted to write. I had a really cool Avenger story with the Broods, and I have a great sequel to the Savage Wolverine story that I wrote and drew, which I wanted to do, but they didn't let me. And also, I wanted to write and draw She-Hulk for Marvel toward the end of my tenure at Marvel, which they told me that I can't do because at that point She-Hulk was considered a B character, and they didn't want to waste my talent talent on a B character. And also, I had a great Ant-Man story, which I wrote and when was gonna draw. It almost happened, and then but they killed it. They kind of like rescinded their offer for me to write and draw the Ant-Man miniseries because I didn't realize a big chunk of the story was too close to the Ant-Man storyline. So they were going to the whole quantum universe. So in my story, it dealt with the quantum universe. And that was like a good 2 3 years before the like a couple of years, a year or two before the movie came out, the first Ant-Man movie came out, because they were gonna go dive really into the quantum universe. So I came up with it in my story like about 2 years before the movie came out, or longer. And so they decided to kill my story, which would have been a great story, because I kind of turned Ant-Man into John Carter of Mars. It's kind of had like elements of Sword of Adam by Gil Kane. So it was cool. I mean, I had Ant-Man taming Devil Dinosaur and all that, and it's kind of hard to explain, but there are a lot of cool elements. There's part John Carter of Mars element, the Dune, Frank Herbert's Dune element, and a lot of dinosaur-like creatures and all that. So I had a blast writing it, and did some sketches. And then Marvel ultimately killed the story, because it's gonna be it touched on a lot of stuff that the movie was doing down the road. So again, there's the. I mean, I like drawing Brood, actually. The more I think about it, I just enjoy drawing monsters. And the Brood, even though it is a bit of a ripoff from the Alien, um, it does have their own distinct features that are different enough from the Alien that that makes it kind of fun to draw. Because I'm a big creature guy, so I know people pigeonhole me as this pinup artist, but drawing nothing but pretty women. But I enjoy drawing monsters more. I mean, I grew up watching Ray Harryhausen movies, so, and all these like great creature movies from the 1980s. I think John Carpenter's The Thing, is one of the greatest horror monster movie of all time. And I thought Rob Bottin, how you pronounce the name? Bottin, Rob Bottin, creature design, and the special effects were just absolutely just at a genius level on The Thing. And also, I mean, I was a huge fan of Rick Baker, and he did this beautiful, beautiful creatures. If you want anything, any hairy creature like King Kong, gorillas, or werewolves, Rick Baker is the man. And everything else, crazy, out of the box creature monsters, you get Rob Bottin. The rib cage. The great thing about the Brood is you can pretty much do anything you want, because they're like the aliens. They kind of, you know, take some of the characteristics of their host bodies. The big triangular head. The first X-Men that I collected, that I bought with my own money, was Uncanny X-Men 166. It was a double-sized issues. issue where they fought the Brood. And I remember the that sequence when I think it was Wolverine when he ripped off Cyclops' visor and found out that Cyclops was already turning into one of the Broods, and was basically leading the team into a trap or something like that. So I thought that was a really great sequence, and I thought Paul Smith did a absolutely incredible job of depicting that and drawing that story. It's one of my favorite stories. So I'm shading because Scott's Cyclops costume is essentially all black, like a navy black tight spandex. So when you're drawing an all black costume, it's kind of tough. So I decided to draw him with the kind of a light coming from the back. And then I realized, that's the bad approach when drawing a black spandex. So you want to put the shadows around the edges and have the middle part where it's highlighted. So that's where I decided to change it. So if you really want to know how to draw, like black costumes, look at bodybuilding magazine. So I look at a lot of bodybuilding magazine because a lot of bodybuilders have this fake tanning lotion, so which makes their body just like that much deeper, a darker color, a deep brown or orange, and it kind of reflects the highlights really well, and so I use that as kind of a reference on how to shade in or how to depict characters wearing like essentially black outfits, which is basically you put all the shadows around the edges, which will clearly define their muscle. And also, when you're doing stuff like this, you really need to know your anatomy. And again, once you know your anatomy, that's half the battle right there. Just the knowledge, your anatomy knowledge will greatly improve all your drawings. And how do you get good at drawing anatomies? When I was younger, I used to draw. I used to get these anatomy books, and I would copy it from page one all the way to page end of the book. And if you do it a few times, you kind of develop like a muscle memory of how the anatomy looks, how the muscle grouping works, how they look, and from all different angles and all that. That's kind of a bit of a brute force way of like learning your anatomy, but it's very effective. It works. And also, I looked at a lot of bodybuilding magazines growing up because I wrestled in high school for 4 years, and my coach used to drill into us about the benefits of lifting weights and doing cardio. So me and my friends used to lift weights all the time, and well, I still do, and really get into fitness, and then so I used to look at a lot of bodybuilding magazines. There's the pec muscle. There's a collarbone. There's the torso. There's the oblique muscle. There's the rib cage, intercostal muscle. And also me, I have a degree in nursing. I actually went to nursing school. I never went to art school. I went to nursing school. So going to our nursing school kind of reinforced my knowledge of the anatomy. Yeah, art school nowadays are absolute garbage. They don't teach the classics. They teach you all these abstract garbage. So don't go to art school. Just if you want to take art classes, just go to a regular state college or even community college and take basic art lesson, drawing 101, painting 101. They actually will teach you useful things, unlike these overpriced art schools. Shading a calf. There's the quad. Even though he was kind of skinny, he never skipped leg days. I had a guy who had an absolutely insane quad when I was growing up. It was this bodybuilder Tom Platz, the Golden Eagle. I mean, he was just a monster. He was just like a little tank, and his leg development was just absolutely mind-bogglingly insane. I think they called him the Quadzilla. Shading in the quad. The knee is always kind of hard to draw because you have the kneecap, which kind of floats around a little bit, you know. Uh, it moves to different places when it's in a standing position or in a bending position. So that's always kind of hard. But once you kind of understand how the kneecap works and just overall how the knee works, you can kind of you could kind of figure out how to draw it, you know, on the fly. Yeah, there's a cool. So I draw like a big giant hole in the torso of the brood where he got shot. Drawing the smoke coming out of his where he got hit by the blaster. Just adding some highlights. So at this point, I'm just kind of reinforcing the lines, darkening the shadows and stuff like that. Just trying to add the marking. The brood hat on their top of their triangular head usually have is kind of like their marking. Just adding more texture and striations and stuff like that on the brood body. defining the smoke. Yeah, I think this came out pretty good. There it is. Cyclops and the Brood.